10 years of Skyrim. Now, for me, that was yesterday since I'm an Australian, but I don't know if it came out worldwide at the same time or if it came out on the 11th of the 11th of the 11th for everyone. um, 10 years of Skyrim. Now, why am I in the middle of the plains? And why do I look like this guy? Well, 10 years of Skyrim for me. It's not Corona, don't worry. I was 17 years old, just finished high school. Couldn't play Skyrim at my home because Steam wasn't working that well for my internet at the time. I had like a little Wi-Fi device, and like I only had like 3 gigabytes of download, so I couldn't go installing updates or just having Steam play up. So I went to my brother's place, and the character I created is this guy, an Imperial, preset 5. This was Centaurus for a few years before eventually I recreated him and gave him a new look and a new sort of story. But his story was more of like a veteran, more of a mercenary, and he would find himself becoming the Dragonborn, and then eventually everything else. And to me, it just doesn't sit right that one character should be all things. Even though you're the Dragonborn, possibly the Avatar of Shore, you shouldn't be all powerful. And the reason I'm here? Well, because this is one of these mods that I absolutely loved that was right here. It was called Dovahkiin Sanctuary, and it was my like #1 favourite home mod for like 4 to 5 years. And it sat right on top of this mountain. That's where I'd put all my followers, all the followers that I'd create, and they'd all go there. And yeah, so why am I here? I want to show you my Skyrim story in hopes of sort of a inspiration for others. Skyrim is a game where you can fit your imagination to be somewhat reality in this game. It's storytelling, role-playing, creative hobbies like modding. A lot of mods have gone into this, like a lot of other mods that I use have gone into this, and mods that I've created, or characters that I've created to play as these characters. I don't play as one character anymore. Centaurus was my Dragonborn Imperial Commander Guildmaster for a very long time, before eventually it just felt like, what's the point in playing the game? I'm pretty much a god. And I changed that up, and that was inspired from the stories of Avatar The Last Airbender and Legends of Korra. To play a more of young hero that's destined to need to save the world, but they can't do it on their own. They need a team. And so over the time, Centaurus changed, and he's been changed into, well, this guy over here, behind the Ragni. This is me. He's got anus in his name, but that was from a random name generator. Now I can change the way he looks in game with the mod Prothesis project. I've shown you how to use it, and all these characters have different sorts of looks. But I want to go through these characters with you. There's a couple side characters over here, these two. I like to play as from time to time, and they will fit into the story. So, there's a civil war brewing, right? It's already there. There's men killing each other, but they're skirmishes, right? They're just skirmishes until the Battle of Whiterun. When the Battle of Whiterun comes, it really sends the war off. It goes from a skirmish sort of keep out of my territory to a full-on out-blown war. And this is where Centaurus comes into play, where he is only an Imperial officer at the time. I'm going to start him off as a spy, where he's in the Stormcloak Legion, where he gets the crown, the jagged crown, and that eventually moves his way of solitude to hand it off to Tullius. He goes through the Civil War as a hero of the Empire. Sigund over here, on the other hand, is the hero of the Stormcloaks. Now, her backstory, I wanted to create it to where she wasn't super important, but she has somewhat of a super important sort of lineage. And she's the secret daughter of Ulfric Stormcloak. So, Ulfric Stormcloak, and this is, in my world, I believe is the second son of the Jarl of Windhelm, because why would you send your only heir become a monk? Pretty much, because that's what the Greybeards are, they're monks. To spend the rest of his life being a Greybeard. I believe that he had an older brother that went to war and never made it back. And when his brother died, he was called back down to Windhelm to take the role of heir of Windhelm. And had to go to war just like his brother did. During this time, he was assigned to Housecarl. His Housecarl had a famous mother, Tova Doomsung, who she was like a companion, but she wasn't a companion. Her and her band were like mercenaries that would save people, kill bandits in Eastmarch. And her daughter, she trained her daughter very well, and she became a guard at Windhelm, and eventually was qualified to become a Thane. Not a Thane, sorry, a Housecarl. And she became Ulfric's Housecarl when he was anointed as heir, and he went to war. So they fought together. They fought together throughout the war, survived it. When the Empire surrendered or won, depending on the way you see it, they were very angry. You know, that they just handed over the gods of Skyrim to the Dominion. Hey, put your eyes open. And, sorry, got some phlegm stuck in my throat. So, they returned back and also found the Forsworn had taken over Markarth, or the Reach, and they weren't happy about that. So they went in there and they butchered the place. If you've done any research on the Forsworn controlling the Markarth, they weren't that bad. They governed it pretty well. But the Nords didn't want Bretons running their shit, weren't running their show. So they went in there and they butchered them. They killed children, for crying out loud, the Stormcloaks. During that night, Ulfric and his housecarl, Morana, I think her name is, had a bit of a celebration, some mead, some sheets, and eventually Sigurd was seated, along with her twin sister. It looks very much like her, but she's got red hair, like her mother. And yeah, Ulfric was imprisoned later on after that for openly worshipping Talos by the Thalmor, because that was half the deal with the Markarth incident. They gave him up and he went to the Thalmor. She fell pregnant with twins, died giving birth to them. She doesn't know though. Ulfric got out, didn't tell. He found out that the love of his life, had 2 daughters, but he didn't tell him because the threat they could put on their heads with the Thalmor and the Imperials. Because he knew when he got out that he wanted Skyrim for the Nords. He wanted the Empire out and he wanted the Dominion gone. So she's a secret daughter, but he made sure that he put all the money that he could into training them, into making sure they lived a good life, but to make sure they were worthy, because the mother figure that they had and the grandmother figure that they had, there was no way they weren't going to not be involved in the war. So he made sure they were perfectly suited to be the best soldiers ever if they were to join the war. Now, this fella over here, he's my assassin's character. He's going to play important roles in between certain parts of the story. So he's going to start off during the Brotherhood. He's going to kill Grillard the Kind. He's going to do some things. I think I'm going to pause his character just when he becomes a listener, because Astrid's going to sidetrack him and doing just random assassination shit. But I really want him to kill the Emperor's cousin just before the end of the war. So when the war's about to end, I'm going to jump back into him. I'm going to kill the Emperor's cousin, and then we're going to go through all the shit. But I might actually not do that. I might have the Sanctuary destroyed, and then have the Empire believe that the Brotherhood are no more, and then have the war end, and then the Emperor's finally can go to his cousin's funeral, or like a funeral service, and eventually he pops up and he kills the Emperor, which will lead into the story of Beyond Skyrim, Cyrodiil, whenever it comes out. Centaurus, always been my main guy. He'll be the soldier that wins the war. Now, this my dear right here, she's the inspiration of Aang and Korra, and I from Avatar: The Legends of Korra. And I didn't even realize it because I used the name generator to get Ragni because it sounds like a Nord name. But if you've read the Kyoshi novels of Avatar, Kyoshi's girlfriend and bodyguard is actually called Ragni, which is a Nordic name, even though it's very heavily Asian inspired Avatar. And I was like, holy shit, I looked at the hair, it looks very similar in a way, and when Ragni turns Dragonborn, her eyes go orange. So that's kind of the way I do things with my game. I like to, for example, my wolf over there, she's a pureborn werewolf, and one of her parents was a werewolf, and she was born into it, so her eyes kind of mirror them like a full moon. And this is from the, what the shit? This is from The Witcher 3 eyes, as you can see right there. Kind of like a full moon. This is a vampire. We'll get to those two. But yes, and he goes to the war. Now, what happens? This is a big story. This is my imagination gone wild. So, after the Battle of Whiterun, the war just goes full rampant. Like, it just goes from being skirmish little battles to, light sort of stuff to full-on carnage. Now, Ragni, there's a sad story for her, right? She's meant to be the last Dragonborn. That's what she is. She's the last Dragonborn. But she was born with 2 other siblings and a mother and a father. One of them had to be Dragonborn. So, the way I see things is I kind of imagine the Empire to be a bit like Rome. The Nords that served the Empire in the war would have been given a couple of rewards, a choice. Here's some gold, here's a couple hundred gold, here's a couple thousand gold for serving the Empire, or pick some land. And her father picked some land, and he got his childhood sweetheart when he got back from the war, and he found a wife. They married and they had 3 children. Ragni was the second born. She had an older brother and a younger sister. They lived a relatively happy life, for 12 years. Well, she was 10 at the time, but her and her father went to, because the home. You buy homes in this game, right? But I kind of wanted to give this one here, Winstead Manor. I wanted to give it to Ragni. So this will be her family home. It's just going to be a small little home when it starts, like the main bed for the parents, and I'll put like 3 children's beds in there, and I'll remove them later on. She grows up there, and her and her father. Morthal's a dangerous place. It's got a lot of zombies or undead in it, depending on what mods you've got, but it's kind of like that murky, haunted swamp. Her and her father, when she was 10, went to Morthal to trade some of their farming goods, because he's been on a farm ever since the end of the war. He wanted to live a quiet life. And they come back, and his son, his wife, and his youngest daughter were killed by a wandering horde. And ever since then, he went from this loving, cuddly father that loved his children to being more like a coach. He trained her the best he could as an ex-imperial soldier to defend herself. She's not a soldier who will become her sort of mentors when they sort of join up, but she becomes, and she's with her father for like another 8 years before he dies, and she tries to run the farm, but it's just full of haunting memories of her siblings, of her parents. The life that she had is no longer, and it's just a shell. So she locks it up and she leaves. She travels Skyrim. This is her travelling outfit. This is what she starts off as. It's a travelling merc, and it's not serious missions. She's not doing bounty hunter missions. She's doing like maybe heirlooms or hunting prey, like dangerous creatures or undead or anything that she can handle on her own. Before eventually she joins a team of mercenaries. Fast forward a little bit. A weak, pathetic young dragon comes out of nowhere. When the dragon shit starts to come into the story, and pretty much kills the team. But this is a weak dragon, so they pretty much butcher this dragon where it can't fly anymore, but it's managed to kill him. And Ragni's the last one. She manages to finish it all, but badly wounded. Eventually that mountain up there calls her name. She recovers from her injuries. She goes up there, and these two are waiting for her. These two can't attack each other because they're in the Greybeard Sanctuary, and if they draw a weapon, they're going to get Fusra out of the fucking mountain. So they got to. And both their missions during the Civil War is to gain her as an ally, the Dragonborn. So to do that, they have to follow her and protect her. And over time, they realise that their war is insignificant to the Dragon War, because the dragons are the real threat. And they bicker, but they eventually become good friends. Maybe a little bit more, because I'm kind of hoping these two will be married at the very end of the story. Enemies to lovers, that sort of old-styled villain hero to. None of them are villains, and none of them are heroes to their own people. It's war, but enemies to lovers, but they serve as a mentor after they train her best they can, as a mentor of why she shouldn't join the war. Because her father wanted to leave the war behind, leave the world behind. He didn't join the rebels or the Imperials because he didn't believe it was just. Just people killing each other. It was a waste when the real enemy was the Thalmor or the Dominion. And he taught that to her, but she was young and impressionable, and maybe she wanted to join the Empire to secure, to honour her father's name, or join the Stormcloaks to fight for her land. She was a bit confused on which one to join, but when she had these two as her companions, she kind of realised that it was pointless, the war, because, they were like family to her. She loved them both, and she learnt that what her father was saying was true, that these enemies become friends during the time of need. And when the dragons are finally defeated and she reaches full maturity of her dragonborn prowess, she'll disappear and the war will have to go on. But these two were so eager to spill each other's blood, Stormcloak and Imperial, they were so eager just to kill each other and earn glory for their faction and for themselves, that by the time the Dragon War's done, the Civil War starts back up, they only want to see an end to it. And they do go back to doing their job, but they don't do it for praise and glory anymore. They do it because they want to see an end of the war, because they don't want to kill any more friends, they don't want to waste more life. So they kind of mature from sort of egotistical, glorious soldiers to just wanting the war to end. And then boom, this motherfucker comes out of nowhere and kills the Emperor. Now I've talked a lot of shit. This is just my imagination going rampant. These two characters are side characters. They're pretty much mercenaries, travelers, hunters, bounty hunters. This is a werewolf. This is a vampire. They will eventually join Ragnar, you know, because at the very start of it, the Stormcloaks and the Imperials can't throw their soldiers because there's still a war going on until the peace, and then Stormcloaks and Imperials can fight alongside the Dragonborn in proper. But in between then, she'll get allies, and these guys can die at that, because I'll turn them off essential when that story comes along, and she could get killed by a dragon, and her story's done. Same thing with her. But these two will eventually hear the Dragonborn's call and rock up to help. So, her, like I said, her backstory is pretty simple. I've actually explained this in another video. She already starts the game off with the hide armor and the axe. You know, she got those in the background. She got the axe because a werewolf hunter tried to kill her with the axe, and she took the axe as a trophy, and she grabbed the hide and some other means of serving her scene. And in the quest, she refuses to kill the dog. She's somewhat part dog herself, and so she gets the helm of her scene, since she's very good at the axe. And she decides to hunt the hunters because she knows what it feels like to be hunted by werewolf hunters. So she helps the werewolf hunt the hunters, and she receives the ring of her scene. This young lass, she's an Imperial Vanguard, which is what Centaurus over there is, but she was that 200 years ago during the Oblivion Crisis. The story is, I wish I could like take pictures of this because I like to do storyboards when I put them up on Nexus, but I haven't back to Beyond, not Beyond Sky Oblivion, which would be awesome. If it ever comes out, man, I'll like take a picture set of her like defending a fort. So she went into an Oblivion Gate with say 47 men, came out with 7, and she was cut in the leg by bloodgrass while she was fighting with the hordes of the Daedra. Now, if you didn't know, apparently bloodgrass can actually infect you, even if like you know you can get random chance of being infected by vampirism in the Deadlands by getting cut by bloodgrass, even though you physically cannot be cut by bloodgrass in the game. It's just like a random chance. And she returned, and you know they failed in closing the gate, and they got back behind the doors. And over the day, she got very sick, feverish, and there was no medical staff, no monks, no physicians to tell her what the hell was going on, to find out that she was actually infected by vampirism. And eventually she died of her fever, and during because this place is constantly under attack by Daedra, none of them get to sleep, they're all, there's dead bodies, they have to burn them off because they'll, spread disease. And this young Imperial soldier's dragging her corpse to the furnace to light her on fire. When she awakens, jumps on the back of him, just feeds on him, in a frenzy. At that very time, the fort's doors crumble, and the Daedra comes spewing in. She jumps out of a window, considered KIA, but of course she's a vampire now. Her legs won't break, she can handle a lot more pain. Disappears, and eventually into Skyrim, sooner or later. But I've got a mortal mask for her. I'll show you what she looks like when she's mortal. So, nighttime she walks around like that, but if she's doing jobs during the day, she will be looking like this. Celia, mortal. No, that's not it. It's gonna be mortal 1. There we go. That's what she'll look like with her mortal mask on. She's got different. Everyone in here's got some different looks. I want to show you Ragnar. The reason I like Ragnar is I wanted her to. Most of them, like their weight 0 to weight 100 is exactly the same, so it doesn't matter what weight they are. The body will still look the same. But Ragnar over here, I've got to look away just in case it doesn't work out how I want it to. Yep. She starts off as a skinny girl, but over time. She will, during her Dragonborn quest, so I'm not too sure, but I don't remember because I did this a while ago. Preset, damn it, load preset. PP, oh my god. Dover, I think it's Dover. A. Oh, now she's glycering. Alright, let me check it here. Race menu. Preset. Oh, God, he's ugly. How did I play as him for so long? Got big cheeks, that bastard. There she is. A1, A2, Dover 1. I think Dover 1's the one when she reaches her maturity. So, As you can see, she's kind of gotten a little bit larger arms, the shoulders have gotten a bit bigger. Her eyes have gone Dragonborn. This is what she'll look like when she absorbs the first soul of a dragon. So that's kind of a new little thing I added. The reason you never saw it on Martin is because those Dragonborns have never, devoured a soul, and when she does, her eyes change colour. Appearance, preset, load. I think it's A. PP. God damn it. A1. There we go. This is a, so she's a lot bigger than she was. You can see that her body's transformed. She's a bit more bulky, even though her nip's coming out. And she's got scars on her face. I think I don't know if there's multiple scars, and scars on her body to kind of show that she's been through a lot of shit, gone through a lot of enemies. I did want to add burns, but again, if you're a Dragonborn, you should be somewhat kind of immune to fire, in a way. But yeah, she will transform over looks. She'll go from being this young adventurer to being, at the end of the day, very strong and powerful. That's kind of what I inspired to Cora. I wanted her to be young like Aang and need a team to help her out. The guild masters will join. The companions guy that I play as, Torbid, will join. The Nightingale will join. The assassin will not, though. He is only important enough to kill the Emperor. So he will not help the Dragonborn team. He doesn't care, even though it could be his extinction. But he's got no moral compass. But yeah, so this is kind of. So I wanted to be young like Aang, like not 12, and need a team, and then kind of end up strong like Cora in a way that she's physically built like a fucking shit brick house. But yeah, this is what 10 years of Skyrim has led me to. Eventually creating a vast story with many different characters that interweave into each other, like a family tree, but that incest. I just, having all these characters, and like they're NPCs, I can easily play as them. Ragni. Sure, I haven't done her any Dragonborn armor yet, but I'll give a Dragonborn armor with a Dragonborn sword and shield or something like that. But yeah, these aren't all the characters of the players. These two are like my minor big ones that I jump between. Is that the sword that does that? But these will be the mains. He's not really a main. He's more of like a finisher. He's an endgame character which is going to kill the Emperor. But these are my Civil War characters and my Dragonborn. I've just got to find a way to, I've got to find a mod that allows an NPC to absorb a Dragon Soul. Because I'm going to be playing the Dragonborn quest as her. But say I want to play as Centaurus defending her or fighting alongside her and I kill a dragon. I don't want to not have this Dragon Soul absorbed. I kind of want it to absorb into her, like how Mirak does in the Dragonborn DLC. How he steals your souls, the prick. But that is a challenge for another day. This is what 10 years of Skyrim has done for me. Vast imagination when it comes to stories and characters. I know a lot of them are female. My Stormcloak guy is a Nord, and Torbid his name is. Do I have him available? I don't think I do. He's currently in Whiterun, being the Harbinger of the companions. Assassin. So I think he's only. There's a few other characters, but they're more like Civil War soldiers that I'll play as, like male characters. They'll probably die or whatever, and I'll revert back to my original guy, pick up their shit. But yeah, I hope you guys, if you're still watching this, man, holy fuck, like good on yous. But this is just something that I've created with multiple different characters and story building, character building, to kind of make Skyrim feel a bit more like a grand story instead of just one guy that comes through and just wins all the fucking battles and knows everything and does everything. So all these characters are involved, and this is the first time I've actually played a female Dragonborn, even a Nord Dragonborn. He's always been the Dragonborn. But yeah, and I kind of wanted the character to grow over time, like Aang and Cora. Anyway guys, I'm going to leave it here. I've talked for way too long. I hope you guys enjoyed this little showcase of the characters that I do play as. I use alternate actors to play as them. I now use Proteus Project to copy their face. I used to have to do that in like the creation kit, which was a pain, like go from the creation kit into game and try and match up the sliders. But now I can just easily copy an NPC's face, and it's all there for me. Just got to make sure that the hair color, the skin tone, any sort of other color form matches up to the character. But yeah, other than that, it's been a lot of work, had to create these guys. They're all custom races. Goss Freya race. Ghost Cicella race. Except Citra, he's an Imperial. They've got their own sort of races, so I can play, you know, as them, their unique bodies and textures. Because she uses a Benjamin body, fair skin, Pride of Valhalla to the right there, and also Pride of Valhalla to the left. He's a unique vampire race because for some reason the base vampires wouldn't use a shield, but I don't think I really need that anymore, to be honest with you, because I don't use dual stealth redux anymore. I use the SKC plugin that does it for you. Yeah, so anyway, guys, thanks for watching. If you got near, leave a thumbs up, subscribe. No, I really don't care if you do or not, eh? Like, it's up to you. I'm not a YouTuber. I'm not gonna have 1,000 and 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so I'm not gonna try and bait you into doing that shit. Anyway, guys, peace out. Enjoy your day or your night. Don't get Rona. Fucking be safe. Peace.